Ferrari finally got the result they had been begging for. Lewis Hamilton won in Barcelona. The upgrades worked. The SF26 looked alive. The red car was fast, sharp, dangerous, and for once, Ferrari fans were not watching the pit wall like it was a horror movie waiting to happen. But here is the uncomfortable part. The victory did not just expose Ferrari's improvement, it exposed Charles Leclerc. Because for years, Charles was treated like Ferrari's chosen one, the golden boy, the emotional center of the project, the driver who understood Maranello, spoke the language of the team, carried the heartbreak, survived the strategy disasters, and somehow kept smiling through it all, like a man trapped in a very expensive Italian soap opera. Then Lewis Hamilton arrived. And after all the doubts, all the jokes, all the people saying he was too old, too political, too comfortable, too far past his prime, Barcelona happened. Hamilton won, Leclerc crashed, and suddenly Ferrari's biggest storyline changed overnight. Because this is no longer just a story about whether Ferrari found performance. They did. This is now a story about who can actually use it, and that is much more dangerous. Before Barcelona, Ferrari had a convenient excuse. The car was not ready. The upgrades had not worked yet. The balance was inconsistent. The front end was weak. The rear was unpredictable. The engine was lacking. The tires were difficult. Pick your favorite Ferrari excuse. They come in a lovely red box with emotional damage included. But after Barcelona, that excuse became harder to sell. Because Hamilton took the SF26, managed the race, controlled the tires, attacked when it mattered, and turned Ferrari's long-awaited upgrade package into an actual win. Not a moral victory. Not good pace if you ignore everything that went wrong. Not we were unlucky, but the data was encouraging. A real win. The kind that puts champagne on the overalls and panic in rival garages. And while Hamilton was doing that, Leclerc's weekend turned into another painful chapter in what is becoming a very awkward run of form. Monaco was supposed to be his emotional stage. Instead, he crashed. Barcelona was supposed to be Ferrari's proof of progress. Instead, he crashed in qualifying and ended up on the back foot before the race even began. And when your teammate is standing on the top step in red while you are explaining another painful weekend, the conversation stops being gentle very quickly. Because Formula One is not kind. It does not care who was loved first. It does not care who was supposed to lead the project. It does not care who looked better in the team launch photos. It only cares about who delivers when the car is good enough. And right now, the brutal question is this. Has Ferrari finally improved the SF26 at the exact moment Charles Leclerc is losing control of the narrative? That is the story people are not saying loudly enough. Because Barcelona was supposed to be about Ferrari's technical breakthrough. The new package mattered. The front wing mattered. The floor mattered. The aero revisions mattered. The car looked more stable in the corners, more competitive over a race distance, and far better at protecting its tires in brutal heat. Ferrari finally found direction. For months, the SF26 looked like a car with talent but no identity. Fast in flashes, confusing in long runs, promising in one session, irritating in the next. The kind of car that makes engineers say, "We understand the problem," right before the problem ruins another Sunday. But in Barcelona, something clicked. The car had grip. It had cornering strength. It had tire life. It had enough race pace to break Mercedes' momentum and put Hamilton right back into the championship conversation. That is not minor progress. That is a turning point. But the thing about turning points is that they reveal who is ready to turn with them. And this is where Hamilton has flipped the pressure inside Ferrari. Because when Lewis was struggling earlier in his Ferrari journey, people were very comfortable asking if he was finished. Was the move a mistake? Could he adapt? Was Charles simply too embedded in the Ferrari system? Had Hamilton walked into Leclerc's house and discovered he was just a guest? That was the conversation. But now Barcelona has forced everyone to ask a different question. What if Hamilton was not the problem? What if Ferrari simply had not given him a car stable enough, consistent enough, and complete enough to show what he could still do? And now that the car has improved, what if he is the one extracting the clearer answers? That is where things become uncomfortable for Charles, because Leclerc has always been fast. Nobody serious questions that. On pure speed, he can be outrageous. He can take a car that looks ordinary and drag it into places it has no business being. He is brave, aggressive, emotional, and capable of laps that make Ferrari fans believe again, which is both beautiful and medically dangerous. But there is another side to that style. When the car is nervous, Charles sometimes looks like he is trying to win an argument with physics. And physics is undefeated. A rear that snaps, a brake balance that does not feel right, a car that rotates unexpectedly, a setup window that gets too narrow. Those details matter, because when Leclerc is comfortable, he is magical. But when he is not comfortable, the mistakes can arrive violently. And that is why the crashes matter. Not because one crash defines a driver. It does not. But repeated mistakes at key moments change the story. Monaco hurt because it was Monaco. Barcelona hurt because Ferrari finally had a car worth fighting with. And when Hamilton wins the same weekend Leclerc crashes, the comparison writes itself so loudly that even Ferrari's PR department cannot cover it with soft music and a motivational quote. This is where Hamilton's feedback becomes so important. Because Lewis did not just win and say, "Great job, everyone. See you at the next race." That is not how champions operate. A champion wins, then immediately tells you what still feels wrong. That is the difference between celebration and development. Hamilton's whole value to Ferrari is not just that he can still drive. It is that he knows what a title-winning machine should feel like. He spent years inside championship-level cars. He knows the difference between a quick car and a complete car. He knows when a car is flattering the driver and when the driver is hiding the car's weaknesses. And after Barcelona, the message is clear. Yes, Ferrari improved. Yes, the upgrade worked. Yes, the SF26 can win. But no, the car is not finished. The front may be better. The aero platform may be stronger. The tire management may finally be giving Ferrari a weapon. But the rear of the car still appears to be the next frontier. And that is not a small detail. Rear instability is one of those problems that sounds technical until it ruins everything. It changes how early a driver can get on the throttle. It changes how confidently they can commit to fast corners. It changes how the tires heat up. It changes how much the driver can attack in qualifying. It changes whether the car feels like a weapon or a trap. And the most interesting thing is this. Hamilton can win with the problem still there. Leclerc, at least recently, has been getting caught by it. That does not mean Hamilton is perfect. It does not mean Leclerc is suddenly useless. But it does suggest that Ferrari's improved car may suit one kind of control more than another. Hamilton's style has always been about patience, feel, and tire understanding. He can live with a car that requires management if he trusts the limits. He can build a race. He can wait, preserve, then attack. That is why Barcelona looked so powerful. He did not need to force the car every lap. He let the race come to him, then squeezed the life out of everyone else. Leclerc is different. Charles wants the car alive underneath him. He wants the front to bite. He wants confidence on entry. He wants to commit. When it works, it is spectacular. When it does not, the margin disappears. And that may be the hidden problem Ferrari now has to solve. Not simply making the SF26 faster, making it usable for both drivers. Because if Ferrari only builds a car Hamilton can manage, they risk losing Leclerc mentally. But if they build a car around Leclerc's aggression, they risk creating the same inconsistency that has haunted them for years. That is a very Ferrari problem. Even when they win, somehow they find a way to create internal drama. It is almost impressive. But this time, the stakes are bigger. Because Hamilton's Barcelona victory has changed the championship conversation. Ferrari can no longer hide behind "we are still building." They have proof. They have a winning package. They have momentum.